talk about shadows, underpainting, and some of the different techniques you can use and how you can research this through fine art, perhaps. This is the very beautiful model. I think she was popular in the late 60s, early 70s. I know in the 70s, and her name is Miss Luna. As you can see that she actually has a shadow on her neck here. That means that there is basically lighting, like in a position to where it casts a shadow under her chin. It gives her more of like a wraparound look, makes her face look more chiseled. She's already fairly chiseled. She has that model-esque look, so she doesn't really need that much help, to be honest with you. But it is good to have good lighting. I'll show you Cleopatra. This is let me see if you can get some lighting off of here. Now they're beautiful people who really don't need that shadow. To be quite honest with you, she has a really nice profile already. Let's see. You can see the shadow here. So you can always look for this particular shadow. So if you're doing your own lighting, you can always look for this particular shadow to know that your lower, chin is actually in the shadows and not being elevated. Here's more predominant. This is like old school lighting. Let me see if I can show you another picture of hers. That way you can kind of see. She sometimes, yeah, here you go. So this is the lighting on the side here and under, and you can see that there's a slight chin there, and if you're able to angle it right and use the right lighting, you'll see less of that. Okay, I just want to show you this beautiful makeup look that I'm always obsessed with. I started to wear like highlighter on my face lower. I haven't really gotten into how to do it under the eye, except for like has a under paint, like to put underneath concealer. But I really do love that look. I love all these looks really of hers. They're so cute and so pretty. I need to try to get this. But this also has to do with lighting too. So to get this kind of look, you have to adjust your lighting. So anyway, let's look at Charles, who is a fine artist. You can take courses in his sort of style of work. He has plates for you to work off of so you can understand composition, shading, shadows, etc. And you can see the same thing within the fine art that is in the shadows itself. And basically you block it out whenever you are drawing. I will leave some information about that in the comments or in the description. So underpainting, I like to think of underpainting as the brown layer. So you're warming up the face, and if you have a canvas, like your face canvas already is highly contrast or ready to brown, you can kind of get away with using it as contour. But that's not for everybody. Most of the time, this is just to get a change of color and to make it look like you've been out in the sun kissed. That's pretty much what bronzer is. And bronzer is very sheer, and maybe I'll do a short on bronzer versus a contour. And a contour is more like what they call the dead layer. Most of the time you're not going to get into these extreme blues. There will be a version of your skin tone that pulls more of this color. A lot of times people use purple for darker skin tones. Maybe I'll do a short or point to a short where I'm using that to contour. But in a way, you're using both of these in order to build your canvas. So for fine art, like if you want to just exercise your mind to start looking for shadows, it's a perfect way of doing it because you don't see color yet. It's all just white and black. And then you can start looking into understanding how you can use color. So you can use a bronzer to start with if you have that contrast. And then perhaps you can start with a dead layer. Most people feel more comfortable with something closer to brown. And then as they experiment more to see what actually works for their skin tone, they will experiment with a true contour, which is usually in a bluish purple area. So that is pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I will put the information down below, and hopefully you can explore different techniques. And sometimes it's best not to even try to do makeup, but just to like study and look at things. You don't even have to really do a lot of reading. You can just look at the photos and look at the pictures and see how these things actually work and begin to morph into what you see. The next step, of course, is you can kind of take a look at fine art and see that you're really seeing purple and blue. But for skin tones, you're really not putting literal purple and blue, it's very rare. You're using more of the foundation and then adding in cooler and darker tones or neutral. I think it's much easier to do it on your face because you're never going to be using literal pinks and blues. You're going to be using more of the shades, like your shade, but altered. So I hope that works, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.